At the center, chained to a platform of cold alloy, sat a human woman. Her hair was streaked with gray, tied back with rough cloth, as if she had been plucked from a village rather than a battlefield. Her wrists bore red welts from the clamps. She was no warrior, no soldier, just a mother, fragile in form, ordinary in every sense. Yet she looked out at the galaxy's finest with calm eyes. That calmness unnerved them more than they admitted. The presiding magistrate, a broad, insectoid figure, whose mandibles clicked with every syllable, raised a limb. Human female, designated genetic matron, captured in the skirmishes of the outer arm. You stand accused of defiance to imperial edicts. The penalty is demonstration, your body broken, your species reminded of its place. The woman tilted her head. Her voice was soft, low, yet carried strangely well in the vast hall. You mean you want to beat me to make yourselves feel tall? Ripples of laughter cascaded through the chamber. A gelatinous noble gurgled and bubbled, spraying droplets on its neighbors. A lizard-skinned general flicked his tongue and hissed amusement. The insectoid magistrate's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile. Still, their mouths run, even when their arms are shackled. One of the younger guards, eager to impress, stepped forward with a rod that hummed blue with crackling current. He struck across her back. The sound was sharp, flesh-meeting plasma-wrapped alloy. She gasped, but she did not scream. She straightened again, lips tight, but eyes steady. Somewhere in that steadiness was a quiet fire, like coals hidden beneath ash. The gallery of aliens leaned forward, some jeering, others disinterested. A towering avian leaned to whisper to a companion, feathers trembling. So fragile, yet it lingers. Remarkable how long prey resists when it knows resistance is futile. The rod struck again, this time against her shoulder. Her body jerked, and a small cry escaped, more from shock than agony. The audience clapped their various appendages, the grotesque theater of dominance, unfolding exactly as they wished. Yet one alien, a wizened, thin-fleshed elder with milky eyes, watched differently. He had seen wars that burned out stars. His voice was a rasp. Mock not the silence of humans. I hear in it something not surrender, but patience. Few listened. The entertainment mattered more than wisdom. Another strike fell, harder. She staggered to one knee, breath ragged. The guard sneered. Your kind should have stayed in its mud. You have no place among empires. Slowly, she lifted her chin, meeting his gaze. Her lips curled faintly, almost a smile. You think this hurts me more than it hurts you? Poor child. The phrase confused him. He slammed the rod again. Electricity hissed across skin. She collapsed fully now, chest against the platform, chains rattling as if they were laughing with the aliens. The chamber erupted in more cruel cheer. To them, this was spectacle, the Empire's right displayed in living flesh. She coughed, blood flecking her lips, but still she murmured, words so low most did not hear. Almost here. The magistrate clicked irritation. What nonsense does she mutter? The elder, the only one listening closely, tilted his head. Words in her primitive tongue. It sounded like anticipation. But the noise of the chamber drowned him. Another noble demanded the pace increase, slapping his scaled tail against the floor. Enough toying. Crush her bones. Let the message be carved in her body. The guard obeyed with zeal, slamming the rod across her ribs, her legs, her arms. She curled instinctively, but between every blow she forced herself upright, ragged breath defying collapse. Each time she lifted her head, a ripple of unease crawled through the wiser watchers. Why did she look as though she was counting? Why did her eyes hold not despair, but waiting? Why do you not beg? The magistrate demanded, rising, mandibles clattering. Your species whimpers easily. I have seen it on battlefields. Where are your cries? She spat blood, and with a weary laugh said, Mothers don't beg. They just wait for their kids to come home. It slipped past them, the strange human idiom, lost in translation to all but one or two translators. Those few frowned, but before they could dwell, the rod came down again. Flesh burned. The smell of iron and char filled the chamber. Yet still her eyes were not broken. If anything, they glimmered brighter, as though she looked past them all, through the walls, toward something approaching. The elder alien leaned close to the magistrate. I advise caution. The humans, they are never singular. Where one falls, others rise. Strike the mother, and you summon the brood. The magistrate scoffed, clicking mandibles. Superstition. They are vermin. We cleanse vermin. It is routine. But the elder's unease spread like frost. He whispered, almost to himself, then why does she smile? Indeed, through blood and pain, her mouth curved. Small, tired, but certain. She whispered again, voice trembling yet filled with promise. They're almost here. The guard stepped back at that, unsettled, though he masked it with a sneer. Delirium. She imagined salvation. The audience returned to chatter, distracted by their own clever jokes at human expense. Yet a vibration hummed faintly through the crystalline floor. Subtle, almost imperceptible. At first mistaken for shifting machinery, but it grew, rhythmic, purposeful. The mother closed her eyes, exhaling, as if matching breath to the rhythm. The magistrate raised a limb for silence. What is this resonance? No one answered. The guards checked their rods. Nobles muttered. The elder only closed his milky eyes. It is footsteps, he whispered. They are coming. The magistrate barked orders. Seal the hall. Double guards at the entrances. Increase the frequency. Finish her before any interruption. The guard lifted his rod for another brutal strike. The woman raised her head weakly, eyes locked on him. This time, she smiled without disguise, teeth red with blood. You poor fools. You should never have touched a mother. The blow never landed. The vibration crescendoed into a thunderous clang, the sound of docking clamps reverberating through the hall. Every alien froze, antennae twitching, feathers trembling, eyes widening. The doors at the far end glowed, seams brightening as external pressure mounted. A hush swept across the chamber, heavy and electric. The mother, broken body trembling, straightened as much as chains allowed. Her voice, though cracked, cut through the silence. They warned you. You laughed. Now you'll learn what a human promise means. The crystalline walls refracted the glow, scattering it like dawn breaking into the Empire's night. The doors buckled. The chamber gasped as one. She leaned her head back, closed her eyes, and breathed, not in defeat, but in relief. The last thing the aliens heard before the doors began to give was her whisper, half lullaby, half warning. My children are here. The doors did not burst inward with fire or fury. They bent. The alloy, praised by the Empire as unbreakable, groaned like timber under storm winds, curling at its edges. Light seeped through cracks first, white, clean, steady, and then came the noise. Boots striking metal in unison, the rhythm too deliberate to be chaos, too steady to be fear. The chamber hushed to the sound of it, the beating cadence of inevitability. When the doors finally surrendered, they fell outward in one graceful collapse, the crystalline walls scattering shards of refracted brilliance over the polished floor. Through the haze of bending light stepped three human figures, framed as if by design, young, upright, and carrying themselves with a kind of casual arrogance only children who knew exactly what they were capable of could bear. They were no more than 18, 19, 20, barely adults in the eyes of most species, but the silence that followed their entrance suggested that even the haughtiest nobles now saw something older in them. The eldest walked at the center, his pace unhurried, his expression calm, almost polite. His dark hair was neatly kept, his jacket dusted as if he had paused at the airlock to brush himself clean. His gaze swept the chamber without hurry, calculating, polite, but holding a sharpness that cut deeper than any blade. This was the strategist, the tactician, the one who seemed to carry authority without raising his voice. On his left, the middle sibling carried a satchel slung over one shoulder, its surface plastered with peeling stickers, bright colors, absurd slogans, and faded logos from Earth. He wore no armor, no weapon visible, yet his hands flickered constantly with a small device pulled from the satchel, fingers flying across keys with irreverent speed. He smirked at the guards as though they were theater ushers, not soldiers. This was the engineer, the breaker of systems, the one who smiled at complexity because he already saw its unraveling. And to the right strode the youngest, barely 18, hair untamed, smile wide and reckless. Unlike the others, he did not mask the fire. He carried a long metal bar casually across his shoulders as if it were a baseball bat, spinning it once with easy familiarity. He winked at the nobles who recoiled, his grin daring them to speak. This was the fighter, the hot-blooded one, the embodiment of reckless youth sharpened into a blade by fury. Together they formed a line, a trinity of promise and threat. The eldest reached the base of the platform where their mother knelt in chains. His eyes softened only then, just a fraction, just enough for her to see. He touched his fingers lightly to the blood at her lip and wiped it away with gentleness, then turned back to the council with a smile so calm it could have been mistaken for courtesy. "Thank you," he said, voice even, rich with charm, "for keeping our mother entertained while we were delayed. She does so hate being ignored." The chamber erupted with mutters, disbelief, outrage. The magistrate hissed, mandibles clacking, raising his limb. "This intrusion is already over," the middle sibling cut in, still tapping on his device. With a casual flick, he tossed a small disc onto the floor. It beeped once, then pulsed a wave of energy. Half the chamber's defense pylons sputtered and died, the glow extinguished, as though embarrassed. He grinned, tilting his head. "You should really update your firewalls. Honestly, my high school robotics club had tougher locks." A ripple of laughter came not from the aliens, but from his brother, who swung the metal bar off his shoulder and twirled it lazily. "I kind of like it here," the youngest said, voice loud mocking. "Big room, fancy lights, crowd that boos on cue. Feels like Friday night basketball back home, except uglier." He gestured at a gelatinous noble who gurgled indignantly. "No offense." "Well, maybe some." The magistrate slammed a limb against the platform. "Silence. You are children, barely fledged mammals. This is the Empire's Hall of Judgment. You will bow, or you will bleed." The eldest chuckled softly, the sound warm, almost sympathetic. "Oh, we bow. We bow to teachers, to coaches, to the old couple at the diner who always brought us pie, but not to those who touch our mother." His smile remained gentle, his tone almost apologetic, but the words sliced clean. "You've made a mistake, and we've come to correct it." The mother, broken but unbowed, lifted her head, tears trembling at the edges of her eyes. "Children don't." The eldest placed a hand over hers, whispering low enough for only she to hear. "We promised, didn't we? No one touches you without answering for it." Then, louder to the chamber, "We offer you mercy. Release her. Apologize. Make restitution." Or, he let the word hang, then gestured casually to his brother. The youngest slammed the metal bar into the floor. The alloy dented, cracked, the sound booming like thunder. Sparks spat across the crystalline walls. Every alien flinched. He grinned wide, showing teeth. "Or we start the music." The magistrate bristled. "You threaten the Empire itself? You who are children." The middle sibling snorted, still typing furiously. "Man, you people really get hung up on the word children. Back home, we start driving metal death machines at 16. At 18, some of us enlist and go halfway across the world to fight. At 20, plenty have families of their own. But sure, kids." He flicked another command, and the ceiling lights flickered, one by one. "You'll figure it out." The eldest leaned forward slightly, tone polite. "We are giving you a choice. It's a rare thing. Don't make us regret it." The chamber buzzed with conflicting reactions. Some nobles jeered, unwilling to believe 3 humans could matter. Others whispered fearfully, eyes darting to the flickering systems. The elder alien, the one who had warned earlier, leaned heavily on his staff and rasped, "I told you. Where the mother suffers, the brood will come. And they will not leave quietly." The mother, still chained, whispered to her children, "They will kill you." The eldest shook his head gently. "No, Mom. They'll try. That's different." The magistrate snapped his claws. Guards rushed forward, weapons raised. The youngest grinned as if waiting for it, bouncing lightly on his feet. The middle tapped a final key, and the guard's rifle sparked, fizzled, and went dead. They stared in disbelief at their useless weapons. The youngest laughed, a wild, joyous sound. "Oh, I love when the toys break. Means it's time for recess." One of the nobles shouted, "They are tricksters. They cannot." Tricksters. The eldest smiled wider, voice smooth as silk. "No. Tricksters play for mischief. We play for keeps." The mother's chains clicked as she shifted, straining to rise despite her pain. Her children flanked her, forming a shield of youth and fire, eyes locked on the Empire's might. For the first time, the aliens saw not fragility, but inevitability. The children were not pleading, not posturing. They had come as predators, cloaked in civility. The eldest clasped his hands behind his back, posture almost academic, as though he were giving a lecture. "Do you know what makes humans dangerous? Not our weapons, not our numbers. It's that we laugh when we should scream. We joke while we plan. And we remember every hand that dared to strike our mothers." The chamber trembled again, another vibration rolling through the floor. Not footsteps this time. Something deeper, larger, approaching orbit. The nobles exchanged uneasy glances. The middle sibling checked his device and smiled. "Clock says we're right on schedule. Fleet's in position. You've got about, 30 seconds before the real fun begins. Want to reconsider your answer?" The magistrate's mandibles clicked furiously, but no words came. The silence spoke louder than decree. The youngest spun his metal bar once more, eyes glinting. "Guess not." The eldest looked back at his mother, brushing blood gently from her cheek. "Close your eyes, Mom. You don't need to see what comes next." Her lips trembled. "Don't do this." He pressed his forehead gently to hers. They already did. The chamber lights died completely. A low hum filled the hall, resonant and final, the sound of 1,000 human ships decloaking above the Empire's jewel. The crystalline walls caught the faint glow of war igniting in orbit, casting fractured brilliance across the terrified faces of the alien nobility. The eldest straightened, eyes hard as steel beneath his polite smile. "You've chosen." The doors behind them sealed shut with a clang that echoed like a heartbeat. And then the room plunged into darkness, save for the glow of 3 human eyes reflecting the fire of vengeance. Darkness swallowed the chamber whole, the crystalline walls no longer glimmering, the ornate lights extinguished, as if embarrassed to witness what came next. For a single breath, silence reigned, every alien noble holding still, antennae quivering, feathers trembling, gelatinous bodies rippling with anxious vibration. Even the magistrate's mandibles paused, their furious clack suspended by dread. The hum from above, steady and immense, vibrated through their bones. And then came movement. The guards scrambled first, those still clutching their useless rifles. They swung them like clubs, desperate to restore order. One rushed toward the eldest sibling, metal rod raised. The young man did not flinch, did not even raise his voice. He sidestepped with calm precision, catching the guard's wrist and twisting gently until the rod clattered away. He smiled faintly, almost sympathetic, as he lowered the guard to his knees with effortless leverage. "You really should have listened when we offered mercy." The youngest leapt into the fray before another word could be spoken, his metal bar spinning in a blur. It struck a guard's chest plate with a crack, sending the alien sprawling into the crystalline wall. Shards scattered, refracting the faint light from outside into jagged stars. He laughed as though playing a game. "I told you it was recess, didn't I? Who's up next?" The middle sibling remained by the satchel, fingers flying across his device. He wasn't watching the battle. He didn't need to. He was orchestrating something larger. With each key press, another part of the chamber's defenses died. Sirens failed to ignite. Doors locked not against intruders, but against the nobles themselves. He glanced up once, grinning. "By the way, your communications grid? Toast. I redirected your distress calls to us. You're welcome." The nobles gasped, their voices colliding in panic. "Impossible. They can't, children." The eldest moved through the guards like water, every gesture economical, efficient. He struck no more than necessary, left no movement wasted. Where his brother was fire, he was ice, precise, contained, devastating. With each takedown, his voice carried quiet authority, reassuring his mother even as he dismantled her captors. "Breathe, Mom. We've got you." She, still chained, whispered back through cracked lips, "What have you done?" He crouched near her, blocking a strike from another guard with nothing but a turn of his arm, then disarmed the alien with elegant brutality. "Only what they forced us to." His eyes flicked to the magistrate, narrowing. "And what we planned for." That word, planned, settled differently in the chamber. It was not improvisation, not chaos, not a desperate gamble by youth. It was design. The elder alien, the one with milky eyes, struck his staff against the floor. "Listen, fools. Do you not see? This is no accident. This was bait. She was bait." The magistrate hissed, mandibles clacking in disbelief. "Bait? A single human female. Who let you beat her?" the elder rasped. "Because she knew they would come. Because she knew this hall, this court, this arrogance of ours, would gather in one place. They let you." His voice trembled, but it was not weakness, it was awe. "The trap was never sprung by us. It was sprung on us." The middle sibling raised his head at that, a mischievous grin cutting across his face. "Finally, someone gets it. Took long enough. Guess wisdom does come with wrinkles." He tapped a final command. All across the chamber, hidden panels groaned open. What the nobles assumed were ventilation shafts now revealed barrels. Human-made barrels, retrofitted into alien infrastructure, smuggled in piece by piece over months. Weapons, explosives, charges placed with surgical patience. The Empire's heart had been hollowed out from within, and no one noticed until now. The magistrate stumbled back, mandibles clicking furiously. "This is heresy. This is treachery. This is..." "Strategy," the eldest interrupted, voice calm, almost kind. He brushed his mother's hair back gently, ignoring the blood. "They always underestimate us, Mom. They think we're impulsive, reckless. They never expect us to play the long game." He rose, facing the nobles fully. "But war is the only game humanity ever learned to master." The youngest slammed his bar into the ground again, sparks shooting upward. He bared his teeth in a grin that was all predator. "So who's ready for round two?" The chamber erupted. Nobles fled, their long robes tangling, their gelatinous forms sloshing in frantic waves, their feathers scattering in panic clouds. Guards stumbled, confused, outmatched. Yet amid the chaos, the mother's voice carried a whisper, broken yet firm. "Children, please. Enough." The eldest knelt again, his expression softening only for her. "No, Mom. Not enough. Never enough until they understand." His words struck the magistrate harder than any weapon. The insectoid figure stumbled, clutching his staff as if it could restore authority. "You dare challenge the Empire? We are eternal. We are." "Already finished," the middle cut in, grinning wide. His device beeped once, and the entire building shuddered as external clamps unlocked. The sound was thunderous. "Fleet's online. They've got visuals. You're on live stream, by the way. Hope you're ready for your close-up." Every noble froze. Screens along the crystalline walls flickered to life, hijacked, broadcasting the chamber itself to ships in orbit. Every beating, every jeer, every blow against the mother now replayed across the Empire's networks. Billions would see not human weakness, but alien cruelty, and the children who came to answer it. The mother closed her eyes, tears spilling. She had been beaten for spectacle. Now the spectacle belonged to her children. The eldest turned slowly to the cameras, his smile gentle, almost teacherly. "For the record," he said, his voice carrying, "we don't hate you. Not yet. But you hit our mother. And where we come from, that's not something you walk away from." The nobles howled protests, their dignity collapsing into shrieks. The eldest ignored them, turning instead to his siblings. "Status." The middle leaned back, hands behind his head, smirking. "Grid control, ours. Fleet comms, ours. Doors locked, Weapons fried, life support calibrated. I even adjusted the thermostat. You're welcome. The youngest wiped blood from his bar and spun it again, eager. Still waiting for someone brave enough to step up. This is getting boring. The eldest exhaled slowly, grounding himself. His calm was not feigned, it was deliberate. A mask, yes, but one that comforted his mother even as it terrified his enemies. He had to be the balance, the center. Because if he lost control, the fire in his siblings would consume everything. The magistrate staggered forward, desperate. You will be destroyed. The empire cannot fall to children. The eldest's eyes hardened, though his smile remained. You still don't get it. We're not the threat. He gestured upward, to the unseen fleets. We're the warning. The chamber vibrated again, this time from explosions above. Human ships, sleek and scarred, revealed themselves with blinding precision. Alien fleet scrambled, but too late. The trap was not only in the chamber. It was in orbit, in the supply lines, in the very infrastructure the Empire trusted. Decades of careful infiltration, all triggered by one act of arrogance. Striking a human mother. The mother whispered again, faint but fierce. You set this up, you used me. The eldest's voice softened with pain. We trusted you to be strong. And you were. Stronger than any of us deserved. He touched her chained hands gently. Now it's our turn. The elder alien, watching with haunted eyes, whispered. And this is only the beginning. The eldest straightened, his voice rising with finality. You've seen the trap, but you haven't seen the teeth yet. Above them, the sound of rupturing hulls echoed through the skies. The chamber shook, dust raining down like ash. And in that trembling silence, as every alien eye turned toward the children, the middle sibling leaned casually against the wall, smirking. By the way, did anyone notice the timer? The crystalline walls flickered again, revealing faint red numbers, counting down. 10, 9, 8. The noble screamed. Guards scattered. The magistrate clawed at his console in desperation. The eldest looked only at his mother, pressing his forehead gently to hers. Don't be afraid. We plan for everything. The countdown blazed. 3, 2, 1. The chamber plunged into a blinding light. The light from the detonation did not burn. It unfolded like a curtain, flooding the crystalline chamber with brilliance so sharp it erased shadows. For a breath, there was no sound, only the blinding glow. When it faded, the hall was still standing, cracked, scarred, but intact. The nobles gasped, clawing at their eyes, convinced they had survived annihilation. Relief trembled through their forms. And then the new noise began. A low hum, steady as a heartbeat, rolled through the air. From above, the sound deepened, layered with thunderous echoes, the resonance of engines not alien, but unmistakably human. The screens across the walls flickered back to life, and for the first time, the Empire saw it. Fleets of human ships in orbit, decloaking in formation. They were not polished like imperial cruisers, not adorned with banners or jewels. They were rough, scarred metal, built for function, their hulls carrying the memory of 1,000 storms. They did not look like a navy of elegance. They looked like predators that had clawed their way through extinction to arrive here. The eldest sibling raised his eyes to the screens, calm as a man checking his watch. Right on time, he murmured. His lips curved faintly, a teacher satisfied with a student's performance. The youngest whistled low, his grin wide. Oh, that's beautiful. Like fireworks, but with teeth. The middle sibling tapped his device, overlaying feeds of alien ships scrambling, their formations fracturing. They didn't expect us to be here. They thought they'd cornered a rabbit. Turns out we're wolves in the walls. He turned toward the nobles, grinning. You're trending, by the way. Whole galaxies watching this mess in high definition. How's it feel being the villains in someone else's bedtime story? The magistrate staggered, mandibles clattering in fury and panic. This is impossible. You are primitives. You had no fleets. The eldest gaze turned to him, polite but unyielding. You assumed we had none. We never said we didn't. That's the problem with arrogance. It fills in blanks with what you want to be true. He stepped forward, each pace quiet, controlled. We hid in plain sight. You laughed at our machines, called them crude. You mocked our wars as petty. You thought we were noisy, chaotic children with toys. He smiled gently, though his eyes were hard as tempered steel. But toys sharpen teeth when you play with them long enough. The nobles erupted in terrified chatter. Some demanded escape, others begged the magistrate for orders. Yet all their eyes betrayed the same truth: they had already lost control. Above, the first exchange of fire lit the orbit. Alien ships, sleek and glittering, fired beams of energy that tore through the dark. Human ships responded not with elegance, but with ruthless precision, their weapons unleashing salvos that ripped into shields designed for predictable wars. The screens flared with explosions. Alien formations buckled. The youngest pressed his forehead against the glass of one crystalline shard, watching in awe. It's like Dad's 4th of July barbecue, except, spicier. The eldest shot him a warning look. Focus. But even the mother, still chained, could not stop her lips from trembling into the ghost of a smile. Her children stood against the galaxy, laughing in the fire. The middle sibling suddenly frowned at his device. They're trying to reroute power to this chamber. Probably think they can fry us with a failsafe. His fingers blurred across the keys, sweat glistening at his temple. Give me 5 seconds. The eldest raised his chin toward the guards still clutching useless weapons. If you care about your lives, you'll leave now. The door will not open later. The guards hesitated. Some fled, their courage dissolving like ice in sunlight. Others froze, torn between duty and survival. 3 seconds, the middle muttered, brow furrowed. The magistrate pointed at the children, his mandibles rattling in rage. You will not leave here alive. We will. Done, the middle interrupted. The floor shook as the failsafe shorted out, smoke curling from hidden vents. He leaned back with a grin. And that's game, folks. The eldest's expression sharpened. He turned fully to the nobles, his voice steady but carrying the weight of command. Listen carefully. You still have a choice. You can surrender, unconditionally. You will release every prisoner, return every territory, dismantle the chains you've built across the galaxy. Or, he gestured toward the screens, where another alien ship shattered into pieces, fire scattering like seeds. You can keep your pride, and burn with it. The chamber shook again as another explosion rattled the orbit. Nobles clutched at their robes, their fear tangible. One collapsed, sobbing, his gelatinous form quivering like jelly under heat. The elder alien leaned heavily on his staff, his voice rasping. They mean what they say. They are not bluffing. Not anymore. I warned you. Humans smile when they sharpen their knives. The magistrate hissed in fury, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. You are children. Children cannot wage wars. The eldest tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing. Children inherit the wars you leave them. That's the cruelest lesson you ever taught us. The mother, trembling, whispered through her bloodied lips, Please don't become monsters. The eldest knelt beside her, brushing her hair back. His voice softened only for her. We don't want to, but they've left us no choice. The youngest slammed his bar against the floor again, sparks flying. His grin was savage. Monsters? Nah. We're the kids who grew up playing tag with death and calling it Tuesday. They just never asked what happens when the kids grow teeth. The middle chuckled, shaking his head. And people said video games were a waste of time. Guess who's laughing now? The eldest rose, his calm demeanor never cracking. His siblings were fire and storm, but he was the anchor, the quiet edge that cut deepest. He stepped toward the magistrate, stopping just a breath away. You thought beating our mother would break us. Instead, you made us unstoppable. That's the irony of cruelty. It forges sharper steel than kindness ever could. The magistrate hissed, but his mandibles trembled. You will drown in the galaxy's hatred. The eldest smiled, polite as ever. Then let the galaxy learn to swim. Above, the human fleet shifted tactics, their salvos growing more precise. Alien ships burst one after another, their once proud formation collapsing. The screens painted the chamber in the firelight of falling giants. The nobles broke then. Some collapsed begging. Others clawed at sealed doors. A few fainted, overwhelmed by the weight of doom descending upon them. The empire's finest reduced to prey in the space of heartbeats. The mother raised her eyes, tears streaking her face. Enough, they know now. The eldest looked down at her, pain flickering across his controlled features. Do they? Or will they forget tomorrow, unless we carve it into their bones? The chamber quaked again, dust falling in pale clouds. Explosions above shook the very foundation. The eldest turned to his siblings. It's time. The middle adjusted his device. Final override ready. Just say the word. The youngest hefted his bar, eager, reckless. Been waiting all day. The eldest's voice was steady, resolute. Do it. The middle tapped the command. Across orbit, human ships shifted in perfect synchrony, their salvos aligning. A wave of fire, brighter than dawn, streaked across the black. Alien fleets disintegrated under the storm, their last cries lost in the vacuum. The Empire's jewel was shattered in a single coordinated strike. The chamber fell into silence again, save for the crackle of distant fire. The nobles stared in disbelief, their empire's pride undone in moments. Humanity had arrived not as supplicants, not as rebels, but as executioners. The eldest turned back to his mother, kneeling. His voice, though soft, carried finality. It's over. No one will ever touch you again. Her tears fell, not entirely from relief. What have you unleashed? He looked at her gently, sorrow in his smile. The truth. That we were never weak, only patient. The youngest leaned against his bar, grinning at the ruined nobles. So, burgers after this? I'm starving. The middle laughed, wiping sweat from his brow. Yeah, sure. Nothing says family dinner like galactic war crimes. The eldest said nothing, only held his mother's gaze, his eyes heavy with the weight of what they had done. He had led them into vengeance, and though he carried it calmly, the burden pressed against his soul. Above, fire still rained across the stars, a new dawn forged in ruin. And in the chamber's silence, the elder alien whispered what all now knew, but none dared to say aloud. Humanity has shown its teeth, and they will never sheath them again.